So let's dive right in. Today, we're going to get into a really radical philosophy for the modern world laid out by the Indian revolutionary and thinker M.N. Roy. And it's this bold attempt to completely rethink politics, morality, and our place in the universe.
So where does this all begin? Well, Roy's entire philosophy kicks off with this really powerful ethical problem. A dilemma that has basically haunted revolutionaries and idealists for centuries. It's a question that cuts right to the heart of what it means to fight for a better world.
Yeah, this question right here, this is what fueled Roy's work. He saw these huge movements of his time trying to answer it, and, a lot of them were failing, big time. In this explainer, we're going to explore the crisis he saw in modern politics and uncover his pretty radical solution, a philosophy he called New Humanism.
Right? So what happens when the means defeat the end? Roy saw this really tragic pattern emerging. You had all these movements, especially the ones inspired by Marxism, and the methods they were using to get power, the political games, shutting down dissent, they ended up just chewing up and spitting out the very ideals of freedom they were supposedly fighting for.
Exactly. The end justifies the means. Roy is saying, nope, absolutely not. He believed this one dangerous idea was the source of a massive moral and political crisis. He basically saw it as a poison that once you accept it, just corrupts everything from the inside out. So what did that actually look like in practice?
And there you have it. Instead of liberation, you get, this. Total confusion, chaos, people just feeling demoralized and frustrated. They didn't build a new world, they just ended up creating new ways to oppress people. So the crucial point here is, the old ways had failed. Something new was desperately needed. So what's the solution? A new philosophical foundation. To get past this crisis, Roy said we need to go back to two really powerful ideas that had kind of been pushed aside. Humanism, which is all about human dignity, and something he called moral radicalism, which puts the individual right at the center of everything.
Okay, this slide really lays it out perfectly. It shows the massive pivot he was calling for. He wanted to get away from these ideologies that see people as, just cogs in some big machine of class struggle. Instead, he wanted to build a philosophy based on the freedom, the reason, and the moral worth of every single person.
And this idea of radicalism, this is the absolute core of his whole project. See, for Roy, a real revolution doesn't begin with some political party or a government. Nope. It starts with freeing and empowering the individual. Freedom isn't just some abstract idea. It's something you have to live and feel personally.
But this brings up a huge question, right? If you throw out religious rules and you reject political ideas that let you do bad things, where does morality even come from? Where do we get our sense of right and wrong? Roy's answer was pretty mind-blowing. He didn't look in a holy book. He looked up at the stars, at the universe itself. So check this out. It's a simple, logical progression. First, the universe is rational. It follows laws. Second, we're part of that universe. So, logically, third, we must be rational too. And fourth, morality comes directly from that rationality. And this is where it gets really beautiful. Ruiz said our reason is like an echo of the harmony of the universe. What he means is that being good, being moral, isn't something someone forces on you. It's baked into our biology because we're rational beings living in a rational cosmos.
And that's why he called it New Humanism. It wasn't just a rehash of old ideas from, the Enlightenment. This was Humanism 2.0, basically. It was upgraded with all the scientific knowledge we'd gained over the centuries about biology, about physics, about how societies work.
All right, so if we're all about the individual and this universal reason we all share, what does that actually mean for society, for the world? Well, for Roy, it meant we had to start looking beyond the walls we've built up between ourselves. And you can see the contrast right here. On one side, you have nationalism, which Roy saw as this big obstacle that just divides everybody up. But on the other, you have cosmopolitanism, the idea that we're all part of this one big human community. He thought the real future wasn't in nations, but in a world of free people connected by what makes us all human. And really, it all boils down to this. The whole point of society, of politics, of anything we do together, it's not about grabbing power or building bigger countries. It's about one thing: helping every single person wake up to the reason and the freedom they already have inside them. So, that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Roy wrote this almost 100 years ago. 100 years! And yet, in a world that feels more and more divided, his call to look past borders and focus on what we all share, man, that feels more important than ever, doesn't it?
It really makes you wonder, what would it actually take to build that cosmopolitan commonwealth he dreamed up today?